In this lesson, we're going to focus on subtracting binary numbers. So let's start with the basics. What is 1 minus 0? 1 minus 0 is simply 1. Now what about 1 minus 1? 1 minus 1, they cancel, and that's 0. Now what if you have 1, 0, but you wish to subtract it by 1? What will you do? Now, 1, 0 as a binary number is equivalent to 2 in the decimal system. And 1 is just 1 in the decimal system. So 2 minus 1 should give us an answer of 1. Now, we can't do 0 minus 1 because that's going to give us a negative number. So we need to borrow. So we're going to borrow this 1. That's going to turn into a 0. And then this 0 becomes a 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. And 0 minus nothing is 0. So 0, 1 corresponds to 1. Now, what if we have this situation? Let's say it's 1, 0, 0 minus 1, 0. Now, this column is for the 1s, 2, and 4. So 1, 0, 0 is basically 4, and 1, 0 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. So this is the answer we should get. Starting with the first column, 0 minus 0 is 0. Now, 0 minus 1, we can't do that, so we need to borrow a 1. So that's going to disappear. That's going to change to 0, and this becomes a 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. And you could bring the 0 down if you want to. 0, 1, 0 has the decimal equivalent of 2, so this answer is correct. Now, let's try this one. 1, 0, 0 minus 1. Go ahead and subtract those two binary numbers. So we can't do the first column. 0 minus 1 will give us a negative number, so we need to borrow a 1. Now we can't borrow anything from this column because it's a 0. So we need to borrow a 1 from a column that has a 1. So this becomes a 0, and this column becomes a 2. So anytime you cross out a 0, replace it with a 2. It's going to work if you do it that way. Now we still need something in this column. So let's borrow a 1 from the 2. So this becomes a 1, and this becomes a 2. Now we can subtract. So 2 minus 1 will give you 1. And then you can bring down the 1 here because there's nothing to subtract it. 1 minus 0 will be 1. And you can bring down the 0 as well. Now let's check the work. So 1, 0, 0 as a binary number has a decimal equivalent of 4. And here we just have 1. So 4 minus 1 is 3. Now looking at this number, this is 1, 2, 4. So we have a 1 with the 2 and 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. And so that tells us that we do have the right answer. So now let's try this example. 1, 0, 0 minus 1, 1. Now we know 1, 0, 0 is 4. 1, 1, that's going to be 2 plus 1, which is 3. So we should get 1 as our final answer. So let's begin by borrowing a 1 from this number. So that becomes a 0. This becomes a 2. Now this, we need to change that. So we got to borrow a 1 from the 2, making this a 1 and making this a 2. So now we can subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. And then if you do 1 minus 1, that will give you a 0. And you could bring down the other 0 if you want. So 0, 1, 1 is equivalent to just 1. Now let's try another example. Let's say 1, 0, 0, 0 minus 1, 1, 1. Try that. So it's best to just jump and start at the left side and borrow a 1. So this becomes a 0, and this becomes a 2. Now, we need something here because we can't do 0 minus 1. And so let's borrow a 1 from the 2, making this 0 a 2, and since we borrowed a 1 from the 2, it's now a 1. Now, we need to do something here because we can't do 0 minus 1 either. So let's borrow a 1 from the 2, making that a 1, changing this 0 to a 2. So now we can subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. And here we have 1 minus 1 again, so that's also 0. And then we can bring down this 0. Now, 1, 0, 0, 0, that's equal to 8. And 1, 1, 1, that's 7. Keep in mind, if we separate everything into columns, this has a column value of 1, 2, and then 4 and 8. So this one corresponds to 8. And here this is 4 plus 2 plus 1, which is 7. And 8 minus 7 will give us a 1. And so the binary number 0001 has a decimal value of 1. Now let's subtract 1, 0, 0, 0 by 1. And so we know this is 1, 2, 4, 8. So this has a value of 8. And this is just 1. 8 minus 1 should give us a final answer of 7. So let's confirm it. Now we can't do 0 minus 1. So going to the far left, let's take away a 1. Making this a 0, and this will become a 2. Now we need something here, so let's borrow a 1 from the 2, making that a 1, and this will change into a 2. Then we need to borrow a 1 again, making this a 1, and this a 2. So 2 minus 1 is 1. And then 1 minus nothing, if you want to, you can add some zeros here. So 1 minus 0 is 1. And then we have 1 minus 0 again, which is also 1. And then finally, 0 minus 0 is 0. So we have a 4 plus a 2 plus a 1 that adds up to 7. So now you know the process of subtracting two binary numbers. So let's work on some harder examples. So consider the problem 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1 minus 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. Go ahead and subtract these two binary numbers. So 1 minus 0 is 1. And then for the second column, we have 0 minus 0, which is going to be 0. And then we have 1 minus 1, which is 0. And then 1 minus 0 is 1. Now we can't do 0 minus 1. So we're going to borrow a 1, making this a 0. And then this becomes a 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 0 minus nothing is 0. Now let's separate these values into columns. Now let's confirm our answer. So this is going to be 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So here we have 32 plus 8, that's 40, plus 4, that's 44, plus 1. So this is 45. And then we're going to subtract it by, this is 16 plus 4, which is 20. And so 45 minus 20 should give us an answer of 25. 16 plus 8 is 24 plus 1. That's 25. So this is indeed the right answer. Now let's say we have the binary number 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. And let's subtract that by 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. So go ahead and try that final example problem. So 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 minus 1, for the third column, we gotta borrow a 1. So this becomes a 0, and the 0 becomes a 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 0 minus 0 is that. Now we can't do 0 minus 1, so going to the next one that we see, let's borrow that one, making this a 2, and then we need to borrow a 1 from the 2, making that a 1, changing the 0 to a 2. So 2 minus 1 is 1, 1 minus 0 is 1. We can't do 0 minus 1, so let's take a 1 from that, changing the 0 into a 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. Bringing down the 0, we get this. So let's see if this process works. Two to the 0 is 1. 2 to the first power is 2. 2 squared is 4. 2 to the third is 8. 2 to the fourth is 16. 2 to the fifth is 32, and so forth. So for the first number, we have a 1 in this column, so that's going to be 128. And then plus 64 plus 8 plus 2, and then plus 1. So that adds up to 203. And then for the next one, we have a 1 in the column associated with 64. So that's 64 plus 16, which is 80, plus 4, that's 84, plus 2, and so that's 86. Now, 203 minus 86 is 117. So we have 64 plus 32 plus 16, and then plus 4 and plus 1. And that adds up to 117. And so this method, this process of subtracting binary numbers works, as you can see. You can verify it if you want to.